In this video, I will discuss about ethics, moral philosophy, and branches of ethics. And we will review and explain the key concept and major ethical theories in moral philosophy and the branches of ethics. First, let's define the key terms. What is ethics, morality, and moral philosophy? So, ethics is the systematic study of what is right or wrong. And morality is the personal or cultural values, standards of right and wrong behavior. Means what is right and what is wrong. So when we say moral philosophy, academic discipline analyzing moral concepts and theories. So those are the terms that we need to understand and remember. And then what are the three branches of ethics if you can still remember those three branches. So the branches of ethics as field can be divided into several branches depending on how we study moral behavior. Three commonly discussed branches are the following. So there are different branches, but there are three commonly discussed branches. First, descriptive ethics, and then normative ethics, and then biblical ethics, a theologically grounded approach. So let us define first what is descriptive ethics. Descriptive ethics Descriptive ethics describes and observes how people actually behave and what moral belief they hold. Okay, so to further explain this, it does not judge whether those beliefs or behaviors are right or wrong. It is more scientific using psychology, sociology, anthropology, or cultural studies. Example, a sociologist surveys different cultures and finds that most people believe taking care of elderly parents is a moral duty. So that's observation, not evaluation. Or another example, a psychologist records that teenagers tend to justify lying when they want to avoid punishment. So that's the behavior that is observed here. Now, that's descriptive ethics. It means it describes and observes how people actually behave. So those are the examples. Another one is normative ethics. What is normative ethics? Okay, so ito yung kanina, it does not judge whether those beliefs or behaviors are right or wrong. It is more scientific using psychology, sociology, anthropology, or cultural studies. So that is normative, descriptive ethics. So yan pa yung in-explain ko kanina at binasa ko. Another one is normative ethics. Normative ethics prescribes how people ought to behave. It creates standards, rules, or principles of right and wrong. This is where theories like utilitarianism, deontology, and virtue ethics. So as we know that utilitarianism is based on the basis of right and wrong is based from the majority or the consequences. So if a lot of people will be benefited or minority. So doon nakabase ang utilitarianism. It's based on the consequences, and the ontology is based on duty, rights, or they follow the laws and principles. And virtue ethics uh, is based on the character. Okay, so that is normative ethics. So example in normative ethics, so a utilitarianism says you should choose the action that produces the greatest good for the greatest number. So it means based from the majority. A moral rule says as it is wrong to steal because it violates people's rights. This is a judgment about what we ought to do, and that's an example of deontology. So these are normative ethics. And biblical ethics, that's number three. Biblical ethics is the branch of ethics based on moral teaching found in the Bible. It asks, what does Scripture say? is right or wrong. It is grounded in biblical worldview. It means the basis of right and wrong is based from the manual of life. For example, the Ten Commandments express moral duties such as do not lie, do not murder, or do not steal. Honor your father and mother. So those are example of commandments wherein the basis of what is right and what is wrong. So Jesus teaching on love and compassion such as love your neighbor as yourself. This forms an ethical principles that guides human being in moral behavior. So to summarize the three, descriptive ethics focus on what people do and observes moral behavior without judgment. So example is a cultural attitude toward elders, yung kanina, and the teenager lying behavior. So those are the observation. And normative ethics is what people ought to do. Means it provides standards, principles of morality, like utilitarianisms, rules like do not steal. Okay, so those are rules. What you ought, what people ought to do. So dun sa descriptive is what people do. And in biblical ethics is what the Bible teaches. Ano yung tinuturo? So it means the basis for what is right and what is wrong is based on the manual of life or we call the biblical ethics. So yun yung pagkakaiba nung tatlo. Okay, so we have here the activity with your assignment. So you have to write this in one whole sheet of pad paper or yellow pad. Apply its ethical branch to the same situation. A case, a student finds a wallet on the floor with 5,000 in it. Explain how its ethical branches would interpret the case. So for descriptive, what do people usually do when they find a wallet? So explain it in 3 to 5 sentences. And normative, what should someone do based on moral principles? And then third, sa biblical, what does scripture or Christian teaching suggest the person should do? Ulitin ko, the instruction here is explain how each ethical branch would interpret the case. So we have a case here, the student or a student finds a wallet on the floor with 5,000 in it. So if you're going to apply the ethical branches or the three branches of ethics in the same situation, so explain each. Okay. So each ethical branch to the same situation. So for descriptive, the question is what do people usually do when they find a wallet? Answer it in 3 to 5 sentences. Then normative, what should someone do based on moral principles? Answer it also in 3 to 5 sentences. And biblical, what does scripture or Christian teaching suggest the person should do? So that is your assignment to be written in one whole sheet of pad paper. Okay, so that's all. Thank you and God bless.